Hello, hello. How are we doing today? It's been a little bit. I took pretty much a week off of streaming. Had some stuff come up in the real lives. So it took me away from being able to stream every day. Our streak has been broken. I don't know if I'm going to try and do it again because I know in these next couple days I'm not going to be able to stream as well. But, you know, I had some time today. Thought I might as well continue the Pokemon. I forgot. I forgot this is what we were doing. Well, we're gonna keep doing it. But, yeah, so I'm probably not gonna be on or doing a lot of streaming this upcoming week either. But, it is what it is. Real life happens. You got plans. But, I do plan to continue doing this. Now, I did do a bit of thinking. I don't know if I'm going to continue with creating my own Pokemon game. I just don't know if, it's interesting enough to watch, especially since I am a garbage artist. It'd probably be something better to do as, a series of update videos on the YouTube. But since I'm doing that, we're going to go to 50. Then now I need to think of, well, what else am I going to do? Because we're getting close and closer to the end of this. And if I wasn't doing this nonsense, we probably could get, make a pretty good push for the end of the game today. Granted, I don't really know Victory Road all that well. But, it's fine. It's fine. Wow, that was pretty snazzy right there, even though I guess it's just the regular. It's cheating with the little Pokeball thing. But yeah, so I'm probably going to be trying to think up of something different to be doing in addition to this. Now, what I kind of had in mind was, what if I just started doing some weird challenges? Or, okay, this is really what I was thinking. I was thinking, what if I just played a bunch of games that have character customized creators, right? And I just tried to make the absolute dumbest looking characters of all time, right? And then try and make that a series. But then I'm like, can I really stream like an hour's worth of content in that time? I don't think so. So I kind of am like iffy on that idea. But, it is my Twitch chat or channel, and I just need to figure out what I want to do with it. I could go back to doing like Risk of Rain stuff, but I don't know. I enjoy playing Risk of Rain, and I kind of zone out while playing it, so it's pretty tough for me to keep conversation. But who knows, maybe that's what I need to do. Because maybe I need to transition into more of like an educational-ish channel. So play a game that I have a ton of time with and go from there. But here's the thing. The only games that I really would feel confident about doing that in would be like Mario Party, which I don't think people really care to watch someone stream it solo. Teamfight Tactics, which I would do if it wasn't for the fact that I don't want Vanguard on my main PC. So I have a little game, old laptop that my family wasn't using anymore, and that's what I used to play like TFT and League on. But I don't think it can handle streaming because it already struggles with playing TFT. Like, this thing is a hunk of garbage, but it's what I got. So yeah, we have that issue there. I don't doubt that a part of it is like it trying to run Vanguard, because Vanguard is a well-made and beautiful program that makes everyone's life that much easier. Yeah, sure. Sure, Riot. So none of those really work. And then there's like possibly Genshin. But Genshin's like one of those games where there's so much that goes into it and I don't want to lose that account, but I also haven't played in a while, but like I have a lot of good stuff. But it would be nice to play again. I don't know. It's a tough one. I need to kind of just figure it out. I'd really like to do card games, but the only ones I can play all of them, except I don't really want to play Magic. But Pokemon has perhaps we go to the zeros on this. Uh, but the only one that I like has like a decent like there's Yu-Gi-Oh, right? We'll start with Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, whoo baby. Yu-Gi-Oh is really cool game and I like the idea and design behind Yu-Gi-Oh. The problem is reading Yu-Gi-Oh cards is a nightmare. And you might be like, you're playing a card game, it's reading. No, Yu-Gi-Oh is unique in how difficult it is to parse what the heck a card does. Like, you can read a card, and it can do something vaguely like you think it does, but not at all what you think it is. An example is differentiating between costs and effect. If you are not proficient in the English language and how words are put together, reading a Yu-Gi-Oh card can be a nightmare. And then you have the how these cards interact. And oh boy, they do not make figuring out any of that nonsense easy. Because you're like, okay, well in this instance, it should work. But in this instance, with this other card, it doesn't work because of small little statement here. Or there's like all this Book of Moon nonsense. Well, if it's flip face down, then it doesn't trigger its effect because nonsense. And I don't want to deal with that. I am not about that. I really, really like the art style of Yu-Gi-Oh! I like the design space that they work in, because making these archetypes and trying to kind of fit in their flavor is so cool. Like, I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in high school, but it's just like, it's not the game I played in high school. It's not like you get to set up your cool monster, maybe set down a trap here or there, and you take a couple turns playing. That's not what it is anymore. Now it is a English professor's exercise in understanding verbiage on cards. Like, it's insane how complicated these cards we get. We go to 75 here. And if it wasn't for, like, Master Duel, for instance, that's what we would play if we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! If it wasn't for Master Duel just doing all the stuff for you, I'm pretty sure most people would be like, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. So that's why Yu-Gi-Oh! Is off the table. Magic, I have issues with Magic that are a bit more on the personal level. And especially Arena, like, that Magic is a no-go. Then there's Pokemon, right? Pokemon is probably the most likely of the bunch that I'd play. I don't really play all that much, like, Pokemon TCG, but it does seem kind of interesting. But I know Pokemon Live and my computer do not get along, because Pokemon Live is a program, they say. But I don't know if it has this... I don't know if they think it does what it needs to do. So, there's that one. Then, the game that I play currently, like, the most in person... Hey, we actually got the rocket! The one that I play the most in person is One Piece. I play a lot of One Piece TCG. Because, man oh man, I really like that game. It's easy... it's easy to learn, ridiculously hard to master, because there's so much that goes into it. That's like the beauty of the Bandai Namco games, including Digimon. I've never played Dragon Ball, so I can't say anything on that. But they make it easy to learn, and tough to master. But, like, you feel like you're always in the game with them. But here's the problem with them. They don't have any, like, official online client. Like, sure, there's a simulator. We go to 45, I think. there's the fan-made simulator, but the fan-made simulator isn't quite it, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't have the official appeal of it, if that makes sense. In addition to that, there's things that don't work as they're supposed to, but because reading stuff and translation. Like Diablo Jambe actually prevents your opponent from blocking for the turn, which is ridiculous, broken card. But with how the simulator's programmed, it only blocks one person. Even though Diablo Jambe says for the turn, or can't activate blocker effects for the turn, not during this attack or battle or whatever their usual wording is. Every other card is worded not like Diablo Jambe. And so that's why I don't really want to play the simulator. Then there's Digimon, which is in the exact same boat, which is also pretty fun. Does suffer from insano power creep, but it's still a pretty fun game. Also doesn't have an online, like, official client, because Bandai Namco only recently announced that they're making a Dragon Ball one for their Dragon Ball TCG game. You know, the one that's been out for like 7 years, I want to say. Just now getting it. So, yeah. Great stuff there. And I think that's about it. Like, there's Hearthstone, and like Legends of Runeterra, but I'm sorry, but those aren't. Legends of Runeterra would be a maybe, but I struggle with the online-only card games because it doesn't work how I think it's gonna work. So let's go with Legends of Runeterra for an example, right? In Legends of Runeterra, I built a mill deck, right? I was trying to throw stuff in the graveyard. So then there's like this shark that's like whenever you attack with an ephemeral creature, you summon the shark back. And it also has ephemeral. And I was like, okay, so if I mill the sharks, that makes it easier to get them, and then it gets them in the yard, so then I can just start attacking with sharks. But that's not how that works. Because, whew, that was lucky. Because they didn't go to the graveyard via normal dying. They go to, like, the discard, and it's counted as a different zone, I guess. Something along that line, so you can't mill them. You have to have played them, and then they die, which makes sense balance-wise. But if this was a physical card game, right, it would say, if this card is in the graveyard, do the thing. But since the computer can, or since they are able to track that stuff and it's not on the players too, they have a lot more of this tracking nonsense. Which I'm not really into for any of that. I prefer a lot of it to be done. I prefer for stuff to not have to be tracked. Now, you can cause, like, some crazy shenanigans because it has to be tracked. But that's not what I'm looking for in my TCG. We go to 75 here. You know, I could probably just buy everything I want now. And we'll keep going. We'll keep gambling. Because we should eventually get to the 8K we need. But then, so I've never actually been like a RuneScape player. And this isn't a TCG, but I was looking into it earlier because apparently there's like a secret in current RuneScape, or like I guess old school RuneScape, that they keep adding stuff to now. Which is funny to me. But old school RuneScape has like the set of medallions that you have, like, that there's 7 of them, but people don't know how to get the 7th one in order to get this key called the Nice Key. And no one's figured out how to get the 7th one, because some of these things are complete and utter nonsense in how to get them. Like, you have to change your settings and your quest descriptions, or like how it displays quests to you, in order to obtain some of these little tokens. And that could be fun to do, but I don't have a RuneScape account. I am not even close to max level. It would mostly be vanilla blind playthrough of me trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Like, I played a tiny bit back when it came out, and I remember trying to kill the demon in the cage on the starting island, getting frustrated because, like, after it did die, it gave you, like, no EXP, because EXP doesn't work the way it does in other games. Alright, it might be a reset of Rooney in just a moment. Then I was like, alright, I want to cast magic spells, because magic spells are cool. And then I found out that in order to cast the spells, you have to go mine for runes. And mining for runes was the most boring, tedious thing on the planet. So I said, nah, I'm good. And I stopped playing. Did not get very far whatsoever. It just seemed too much like a grind fest to me. And I'm fine with grind fest, obviously, because I'm doing this nonsense. I know I said 75, but we'll go if we get under 70. See, that's what you gotta do. You just gotta keep going, because if you stop, you're gonna lose money. Granted, I'm pretty sure that only netted us like 25, maybe $50 or 50 coins. But lots of rockets today. I wonder if it is like somewhat based on your boot up RNG. Not too sure. Ooh, actually, what if we just played a... What if we just played a bunch of absolutely garbage Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced era TCG simulator stuff? So, I say these things, but I know it's going to be miserable. Ooh, actually, what if we just go through all the old school Yu-Gi-Oh games? I haven't played most of them. Like, I played, like, maybe a little bit here and there at friends' houses. But I could do, like, blind playthroughs of... Oh, let's go. Of some of these games. That could be kind of fun. I know that most of the old Yu-Gi-Oh ones don't play as as, like, the game actually is played. Because we didn't know the rules yet. Or the developers didn't know the rules at the time when they made the games. So that could be a cool concept. I've also, like, debated trying to, like, make more scripted stuff. So, what I currently do right now on the YouTube channel is I literally just post the VODs. But what if I try to go for something a little bit more interesting? But what concepts would I talk about? What would I want the channel to be about? We go to 0, I guess. Whew, baby. But then, that's what got me, was... Let's go. What would I want to talk about? Or, make some of this content about? Part of me wants to make, like, stupid nonsense posts. Kind of like shit posts. Sometimes I want to talk about films, maybe video game mechanics, stuff like that. But then I'm like, there's a lot of people that already do all of that. Now, I do think I could probably bring my own perspective when it comes to film. We'll go to 0 again. Because I really like a lot of films. And talking about them is like one of my favorite things to do. But I am somewhat considered a snob when it comes to films. But I don't know. I just really like good movies. And I'm not easily satisfied when it comes to movies. Because there's a million movies. Why should I watch yours over this one? And I know people are like, it's just a movie. Just sit down and enjoy it. But that is how I enjoy movies. I like to sit there. I like to think about it, talk about every detail, go over the cinematography, the music, the script. Like, I like looking at all of that stuff. It's what I enjoy out of watching a films, and is how I enjoy it. So I should be able to do that without you being like, it's just enjoy it. Just turn the brain off and enjoy it. But that's not what I like about films. So that would be a kind of a fun one. Go over maybe specific scenes. The one I've been thinking about the most is The Incredibles, because The Incredibles is a movie that I have like an interesting relationship with. I really didn't care for it as a kid, right? When it came out, I was like, okay, this is fine. I'm not too into it. It's alright. Like, it's whatever. I know a lot of people I knew really, really liked it, and they thought it was like one of the best movies ever. And I didn't quite get it because I actually do not love a lot of the action stuff, right? It's never been my favorite, like the Dash and Violet action scenes or the big battle at the end. Um, Never really cared for it. And even to this day, I don't really love those scenes. Like, they're fine. And it's a pretty good movie, even though I don't particularly love those scenes. But when I watch it nowadays, the part that gets me is Bob and Helen's relationship. Because, man, oh man, that whole dynamic and, like, Bob trying to figure out, well, what do I do with my life now that I'm not allowed to help people, right? Fascinating. Absolutely love that. And seeing him work at the insurance company because he's like, all right, I'm gonna help these people get these payouts for whatever when things go wrong. When I can't prevent these things from happening, let me help these people when they do happen. So rather than denying the reality from happening, he's there to help. He does forgiveness rather than permission. And now, that might not make sense to people, but what I mean by that is he is, rather than asking permission to save them, he is forgiving the mistakes or the catastrophes that happened. Which is pretty good. Uh, Really interesting, fascinating stuff. And then Helen just trying to keep her house together and kind of tackling with dealing with super people that kind of have to be repressed or suppressed in order to live. Really fascinating stuff. And her action, like her spy segments, same with Bob's to be honest, but hers are so cool. Like watching her slink around and go through the villain's base has always been like one of the coolest parts to me because she made the stretchy power, which I thought was lame from Fantastic Four, into a really, really cool power that I'm like, okay, that's kind of sick. These are the things that you can do with it. So, those are the parts of the movie that I really enjoy. And also just like the idea of it. Like, I know it came out before the big superhero craze, and it's talking about some real, like, interesting stuff when it comes to that. I know some people are like, I don't like it. It's not kiddie enough. It's too serious. I'm not into that. But it's a really cool thought experiment of just thinking about, okay, if superheroes did exist, right? Then when stuff does go wrong, what happens? Who's going to pay for fixing all that stuff? Because I've always been fascinated by that and wondered those same things myself. Or like when they have a display of the villain's strength and the villain wipes out like 100,000 people with one swipe of their sword or whatever. I always like think about the logistics of that. Like if that's the case, then how, and this happens like on a, I don't know, maybe weekly, monthly basis, like we can't populate that many people that quickly if that's happening constantly. Like, it's just not happening. And so it makes me wonder and think about all that stuff. Who is going, or who is like now in charge of the city, like the logistics of it. Now, Incredibles only goes over the insurance logistics in its movie, being like, okay, well, superheroes should be held liable for the damages that they cause, so then they can't cause wanton destruction. And Avengers Civil War is also kind of about that. And both of those are pretty cool. But then there's also the issue of, and I really wish it was talked about, if you don't have the superheroes, then why aren't supervillains just going crazy? Like, there's no one there to stop them anymore. They're superpowered. Now, I'm pretty sure in the Incredibles universe, for the most part, the hero or the villains are just trying to get money. And they probably do succeed at that. Like, Syndrome, he gets a ton of money, and yes, he is a villain. I know he's like an arms dealer, but he made bank, and you think he's the only one who's making bank like that? Like, Bon Voyage probably is making fat stacks too. Just because no one's gonna stop him from robbing the banks. And I really, really wish that the second movie kind of delved into these concepts and went over just exactly how, just exactly what a world that's somewhat run by insurance would look like. Because everyone has to go through insurance, but what would be the point of insurance if they're constantly having to pay? I worked in the insurance sector, or like for an insurance company, and it's crazy to me because why would any insurance company want to exist if there's things happening all the time? It always read weird to me in Incredibles 2 when they're always like, we have insurance for this. But that's kind of insane to me because in Incredibles 1, you see that the insurance companies are uber corrupt, right? That's what the whole beginning segment is with Bob and his boss. You see that the insurance companies are trying their absolute hardest in order to not pay their customers. And there's a lot of them. They are constantly busy from what it looks like. And he's upset that they're paying claims on things that should be paid, right? That's the whole shtick between Bob and his boss. And then in the second Incredibles movie, it bugs the ever-living crap out of me that they paint the insurance companies as, oh yeah, they're the ones that shoulder and hold this, all of the burden, right? The second Incredibles movie is absolute garbage. Just heads up. If you haven't seen it. If you watch it by itself, you're probably like, oh, this is a fine movie. But as a follow-up to the first movie, I swear, I know it was, like, made by the same people. Like, it obviously made by Pixar, but Brad Bird was on the movie. And it's insane to me that he was also on this movie because I feel like they just forgot everything that happened in the first movie. Like, especially with the opening sequence. It's kind of insane how much they changed from the end sequence in the first movie to the opening sequence in the second movie, right? Because at the end of the first movie, his whole family's ready to go. And Bob is the last one to put the mask on because he looks at Helen and his kids and he's like, are we doing this, right? And they're like, yes, like we're one step ahead of you, Dad. Like, we're going in. But in the second movie, it starts off with them bickering, and it seems like Helen didn't even want to do it. But she was the first one to put the mask on. Or at least the first one we see. And it's just kind of crazy to me that the same people who made that last bit, like, maybe they forgot. But then there's the whole insurance problem, right? The insurance company is considered like they will save everybody because they're going to be the ones that pay and fix all the damages and whatnot. But if you think back to the first movie, that's kind of the whole point of the insurance stuff, is that they don't want to pay anything. And I know it's giant damages to all the infrastructure, the bank, the roads, etc., etc. But it's still like, I don't know, man, like, that's still kind of messed up. Okay. So I think here, hold on, let me fix this. I just realized. Alright, I just realized my Switch or stream. So I just now realized this. So when I'm doing this streaming, right, I have to obviously change the information about it, right? Like the stream title. But I didn't realize that once I start streaming the game, it reverts the title back to the old one. So I have to change it afterwards. That's why a lot of my old titles are like the old ones. That's good to know. We learned something new today, chat. Alright, back to the Incredibles, though. And then you have this statistic of, like, lowest mortality rate. And I'm pretty sure, at least from what we see in the first movie, Mr. Incredible didn't have a high mortality rate. Honestly, if he had a higher mortality rate, he probably wouldn't have gotten, like, uber sued by all the people. Because that was the whole thing in the first one, is he saved the guy, and the guy wanted to die, so he sued Mr. Incredible for being a good Samaritan. And because he was, like, he got lots and lots of money. And because he got lots and lots of money, other people were like, well, we want some of that government money too. And so even though he saved these people, the United States government lost millions in these lawsuits. But he saved all of their lives. He saved literally all of their lives. And so he gets sued because he saved them, right? That means he has low mortality rate equals suing, is what I kind of got from that. But it's claimed that he has the highest mortality rate. Maybe it was supposed to be like casualty or like destruction, property destruction, because I could see that. With his power, like, I kind of understand that super strength, it's pretty easy to destroy stuff. But, like, then we go back to the first movie, right? And he's conscious of like, if he destroys that burning building and takes out the support structures by running through walls, the building's going to collapse, causing more destruction. Like, he's aware of these things. But in the second movie, they make it seem like he's just trying to go for, like, glory's sake. But the first movie does such a good job of showing him that he wants to help people. It's not about the glory. The glory is nice. And he does miss those days of him being on top, but it wasn't ever about glory for him. He wants to help and save people. He's a very selfless person. I don't even know if selfless is, like, the right way to put it. He wants to be able to put his powers to good use and help the people around him. That's what Mr. Incredible wants, more than anything in the world. Because that's what the beginning sequence is about. He is out there saving as many people, so much so that he eventually is late for his own wedding. Because he puts other people above what he's doing. So he's constantly out on patrol, and he's helping even the grandma with getting her kitten down, or her cat down, while he's in the middle of helping people on a high-speed chase. Then, after he saves the guy from jumping off the building, right, he's immediately into action about stopping Bon Voyage, and then, of course, we know that Buddy obviously thwarts that attempt. And is primarily responsible for the events that happened that night. Now, it's debatable on whether or not the whole movie, like, since the one guy lived, right, would he probably still would have sued, but since there wouldn't have been the bus of people that he saved for the injuries, would they have sued? Like, would they, because they wouldn't have been able to sue anymore, right? And Bon Voyage would have been caught and they could have pinned it on him or whatever, right? But, I don't know. These are just the things I think about with these films. I know I got sidetracked. Kind of. But those are the things that I've been, like, debating on whether or not I should make, like, a series about them. I don't remember how much money we were at. I'm pretty sure we were, like, close to the top. If we go on, like, under 45, we'll reset. You know, I could just call it good. Like, I know we have enough money for the TMs that we want. But also, on the other hand, I don't know, I might need something in the future. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And we're so close anyway, it's like, we only need another, what, 2 more sets of 7s? A little bit more than that, just in case, or not 2. We need 4 more sets of 7, and ideally a little more just in case we need to get the money in the future. I love that your person's just so happy to play. Alright, but let's talk about a movie that doesn't have a bad time. Okay, let's talk about a sequel that improves. So, there's times when you need to kind of abandon your previous movie, but not entirely, right? Because then people are going to be confused. Because most of the time, people don't really care. Okay. Even that statement was going to be kind of weird. So, some people really... sorry. Do care about continuity, right? And I would say it kind of depends on what the continuity needs to be. We'll go to 80. For how careful you need to be with it. Because sometimes, like, things are going to happen and you're going to have no way out of it, right? Like, you wrote yourself into a corner in the past, and now you kind of got to fix it by doing, quote-unquote, the retcon. Now, sometimes it's not as bad as others in terms of what you wrote yourself into. Sometimes it's pretty bad, though. And, like, you kind of are forced to either come up with something different or just bite the bullet and do the retcon. I personally prefer if they try not to retcon, or if they do retcon something, come up with some kind of excuse for it. We'll talk about Puss in Boots for good ways that they do this, right? So Puss in Boots in the original movie was kind of like the honorary hero, right? He had a strong sense of honor, wanted to help people, and felt betrayed by Humpty Dumpty, right? And he's kind of flat in that movie. Same with in Shrek. He's very much just I'm here, I'm a cat, musketeer person. And it's nothing like too crazy or revolutionary. But then we get over to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, right? And that makes a strong defining argument or like case and study for Puss. Like, it kind of creates a new character for him to be. He's arrogant, he loves being in the spotlight, and he doesn't really, like, stick with anyone. Which is very different than before, right? Because first time we see him is in Shrek, and he teams up with Shrek because he owes him a life debt. Great sense of honor. Then, in the Puss in Boots movie, the first one, not Last Wish, he's also seen to be working with Kitty Softpaws in order to, I don't remember, work with Humpty Dumpty, which he doesn't want to do, but he reluctantly does. So it shows that he is willing to do that for adventures and whatnot, and possibly repay his debt. But you also... where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so it completely recharacterizes him and changes kind of who he is, but it's done in a way where it's very organic. So obviously he separated from Trek and he started doing his adventures again, and he became a legend, right? And that legend kind of tainted, corrupted, I wouldn't even say like fully corrupted, but it drove his ego up to 1,000,000. I was gonna be so mad because I accidentally didn't do the last one. But ego up to 1,000,000. And that's kind of the Puss in Boots that we work with. Now, what happens a lot of the time in the sequel, or in a sequel, so the Puss in Boots in The Last Wish, he grew to accept death and be a lot more humble and appreciative of what he has and the people around him, right? That was like a huge part of the movie. And he does that, and it's awesome. Great movie. Fantastic movie. What would be a sad thing to see happen, and it happens quite a lot, is when they revert the character progression and make it so that he is very much the puss from the first movie, or at the beginning of Last Wish, again, in whatever the next movie would be. And that's like something that I really hope doesn't happen. It's kind of exactly what happened with Mr. Incredible, except they didn't. I feel like they didn't even understand Mr. Incredible at all, because Mr. Incredible in the movie, or from the first and second movie, is kind of a totally different character, right? He's not very supportive of his family, which is 100% not the case in the first movie, right? You see him helping out with, like, playing with Dash. He's excited to see Dash get excited about his powers, and he wants his kids to be able to do their thing, right? Let's reset. He wants them to be able to do their thing and not suffer from having to suppress their abilities and whatnot. And he unfortunately kind of like dejects himself when he's not happy. He kind of checks out and loses himself in the world, right? But when he's happy again, when he starts taking on the job for Mirage and Syndrome, he is very happy. He's very active, helpful around the house, and helpful with the kids, helping them out with all sorts of issues. And I love that scene. It shows that it's being in a better space of mind means that you're more willing to put in more effort into things around you, right? Give yourself entirely to helping, supporting others than just yourself. But when he was miserable, he just couldn't even care about anything around him, including his own family. And powerful message. But I feel like when they moved him to the second movie, they kind of got rid of all those good personality traits that he had and made him just a glory-seeking monster. And that's the kind of retroactive, or I guess retcon, that I don't really like. Same with, so let's go with Star Wars, for instance, right? From the movie to movie, right? It's really tough. Wow, this has been like a bad streak of luck. Like, really bad. But you go from just the sequel trilogies alone, right? You go from 7 to 8 and 8 to 9, and you're like, what the heck is even happening with this story? Like, Rey's background, it keeps getting flip-flopped all the time. And you're just trying to be like, well, where are we going with this? Like, what was the point? What are we doing? I'm confused. The entire time. And I really don't like retcons like that, because me as a viewer, I'm just getting lost. Like, sure, I understand the writers probably didn't get along and they wanted to create their own story, but they needed these certain things to be in place in order for their story to work. But you're working on a collaborative project, and it's not something that you initially created. So you kind of have to work within the restrictions given to you. And I think it's the hallmark of an excellent writer when they are able to see that and work with it. But it doesn't really happen all the time, especially nowadays. I feel like people are kind of ignoring the source material more and more. And sometimes you have to, right? Well, we'll go with Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson trilogy, right? Aragorn is like a very different character from the books to that trilogy. But I feel like those changes that they made for the trilogy were in service to help the character, right? Because in the book, you get like a little bit of Aragorn's perspective, right? You follow him primarily during the first part of the Two Towers, the Three Hunters portion of it. But here's the thing. Aragorn is unfortunately not the most compelling character in the books. I hate to say it, but he's arguably my least favorite character in the Lord of the Rings books. Because he very much seems like he's got everything together for the most part. There is the exception of when he isn't sure if he can lead the Fellowship during the post Gandalf death, right? He doesn't know, and that's kind of the only time he falters a little bit. Just a little bit, not a lot. But he does strictly say, am I not worthy enough? Is this not what we're supposed to do? And then he pretty much gets his stuff together, and they go out and do all their stuff. But you kind of lose a lot of the, I don't know, mystery of Aragorn, or like the humanity of him. And he kind of transcends to a higher level of human, but not necessarily a more relatable one, in the book specifically. And I feel like the changes that they made in the movie were all in service to help Aragorn and create him to be the character that we now know and love today, of someone who doesn't want power, but needs to sacrifice his desire in order to for the betterment of the world, right? He has to give up his desire of solitude, of kind of penance a little bit, and he needs to exert his will upon the world. Not because he wants to, but because he has to steer it in a better direction. And it's kind of an inverse of Sauron, and I really, really like movie Aragorn a lot. It kind of fleshes him out in the perfect ways, and those are the kind of things that I prefer in my adaptations. It's ones that have a purpose more than being a stand-in for, like, well, let's just make it like this. Changes for the sake of changes is not what I want in my movie, or in my book, TV show, or anything. I want them to have a purpose and meaning behind them. Because if it's just changing just to change it, and to be like, well, this is my version of the story, then what was the point? Like, there's gotta be a point in your version. Like, either you think that this could have been done better, you have a cool idea to add to the world, or I guess you could just be selfish and be like, no, this is what it's really about. And I feel like that's just rude and disrespectful to the original author, or writer, or whatever, whatever it is, filmmaker. I actually want to check something. It's disrespectful to them, and it's disrespectful. What? Is it not at the... It's not on the last one. Interesting. And it's disrespectful to the people who really enjoyed it in the first place, right? Because they have this somewhat expectation of what these characters are going to be. They loved them in the first movie, and they kind of relate to them for whatever reason, right? And then if you completely change that and get rid of it, then you kind of just, like, murdered someone's memory of somebody. It's like me going and telling you your grandpa is an absolute asshole, right? He was rude to people, he pushed people down the stairs, and he shoved, and he exploited his workers. Regardless of whether or not that's true, it starts to make you wonder, and you're like, well, was he? Is he a douchebag? Now, he might have been. He very well might have been. And that would suck. But it's also kind of kills your memory of him, right? Because people are very multifaceted. Let's go. Multifaceted. And if you have your interpretation of your grandpa, right? And then they bring out a completely different person that looks exactly like your grandpa, but they act totally different. Right? Complete opposite of themselves. Are you gonna, like, truly be like, that's your grandpa? Like, you're gonna be like, what happened? What changed with grandpa? Like, where did they, like, steal him and, like, switch him out with somebody? Like, what's up? Something's not right here. And it, like, has all these alarm bells. That's kind of what they do with these movies, but since they're fictional, it's considered okay. Even though, arguably, you're desecrating someone's creation. You are gaslighting people and thinking they remembered the character wrong. That's 100% what happened in The Incredibles, right? They expected you to not remember the beginning part of the or the ending part of the movie, change what they wanted to in order to create the narrative they wanted for that specific movie. And it's not something I particularly like that they did. Alright, you know what? No. I'll keep going. Alright. Regardless of whether or not we hit it, we're gonna end the stream at an hour, which we're 10 minutes away from. And then whatever we don't make, we'll just use money, because we're so close. We are so close. And if we hit 8,000, I mean, we'll just keep going until we're done. Because having a little bit of extra coins would be nice. For the future. Still gotta train that stupid Jolteon. Janice. And then we gotta go... I think we beat Sabrina. Yeah, we did beat Sabrina. So we gotta do Blaine. And then we gotta beat Giovanni. And then we're chilling. I forgot, what was my plan against... Can Slowbro get Calm Mind in this game? I don't know if it's TM. I know it is in Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, but... I don't think it is here, because I'm pretty sure you get it from Tate and Liza's gym. Speaking of Tate and Liza, I only found out that Tate was a dude, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I always thought that they were both girls. And it's still weird to me that they're not both girls. And, like, it's fine, but I don't know, kid me always just thought they were both girls. Thought that they were identical twins that just like different hairstyles. Let's go. Busted. If we can just do that 2 more times. Just 2 more times. And then we're in there. But yeah, I was very confused by that, like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, what the heck? You were a dude the whole time? Pretty sure that's like the only big one of those back in the day that I was confused on. Like, I might have been confused on Bugsy, but I never actually played Ruby or Gold, Silver, or Crystal when it came out. I played Red, Blue, and Yellow at the beginning. Or like that, Yellow was my first video game. And then didn't do anything with Gen 2. And then started playing again back in Gen 3. And I've been playing pretty much since. I don't know. Gen 2 just didn't stick out to me. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure it was a good idea to skip that one, because man oh man, Johto is designed by, like, a nightmare. Like, the leveling curve of Johto is ridiculously bad. Also, why is it that when you introduce all these cool new Pokemon, like a whole new type, you got your Murkrows, you got your Houndours, and your Misdreavus, you make them stupid hard to get, or you get them at the end of the game. And not only do they get them at the end of the game, they're like level 12. And so you have to retrain them all the way back up to what you need, like where you're at. And you're... oh... Gen 2 really annoys me. I know it's some people's favorite generations, whoops. But, like, I don't know. I don't know. really cool that you can go back to Gen 1 or Kanto, and I wish that they would do... Oh, I need to go save, actually. And I wish that they would bring that feature back for our modern games. But they also, like, the rest of the game is just not there. Like, the design... It bugs me. It really does bug me that you have to do all this nonsense just to get Murkrow, Houndour, and Mischievous. There's a couple other ones that are also locked in the in Kanto. And you're like, where were these the first time? You would expect all these cool new Pokemon to be in the new region. But no. Don't you worry. We got Pidgey. You like Pidgey? Yeah, we got Pidgey. We got Zubat. But Zubat's, like, more acceptable, because Zubat is, did get a new evolution, so I'm not too upset about that. Then it's like, oh, we got some nice Geodudes. Geodudes, let's go. Fire types, you only need Growlithe. That's the only one you need. It's crazy to me that most of the early game, like, there's some new Pokemon, like, you got Mareep, which is pretty dope. Heracross you can find if you're lucky with the headbutt trees. And then you have your boy Dunsparce, who is a Dunsparce. Does Dunsparce things. And I'm pretty sure the first gym leader... Let's go! We've done it! But, like, Falkner, I'm pretty sure he doesn't even have a new Pokemon. I don't think he starts with a Hoo-Hoo. Because I'm pretty sure it's... Is it Pidgeotto? Pretty sure it's something like that. And then Bugsy, you get... Kakuna, Metapod, and Scyther. Whew. Whew. Working with some bangers there. Let me save real quick. I might have already saved, but, you know, just gotta make sure. Okay, so I wanted T-Bolt. No, that would be nice, actually. Put it on slow, bro. But we want T-Bolt. And then we also want this one. Ice Beam, yes. We have done it. Alright. So we want... Oh, we do have Calm Mind. Let's see. I could just make her a monster. Okay, we'll hold off on that. And actually, we don't need Ice Beam at the moment either. We do need T-Bolt. ASAP, though. Because we don't have an electric move without it. Alright, so I'm gonna prep up my team, and then we'll go from there. We will create the ultimate team. Alright. Janice, get in here. Okay. I don't think I need any of these TMs, so we'll take Giffy. Which I don't remember why I named you that. And then we just do this, and... Alright. Here's the question, am I gonna... I guess I've had Thunder this whole time, but I'd rather not use it yet. Alright, well, I lose this electric type Pokemon. We don't need Helping Hand. Alright, Janice, you better be worth it. I spent a lot of time on just getting you this one stupid move. Alright, and then next time, let's see. Do I have a bunch of repels still? 13 regular ones, but I should have bought 10. Alright, next time we're either going to train Janice up a little bit or we're going to go in the Pokemon Mansion. But that is going to be it for today. I will not be streaming until maybe next week, probably Tuesday or Monday at the earliest. I gotta go out of town for a little bit, so I won't have access to the computer. But I do appreciate anyone that is watching this or that came and stopped by the stream. We will continue, and I will eventually figure out what I'm going to do with this series, or in the future, but for now, TLDR is, we're not going to do the Pokemon, or creating a Pokemon region anymore, and we'll come up with something new in the future to stream. But I hope you guys enjoy. Have a wonderful rest of your day.